Quite simply, the process for design, creation, implementation, and running of an ESG program is virtually similar to that of a compliance program. The goals of ESG are very similar to the requirement of a CCO and compliance function to be champions of institutional justice and institutional fairness in an organization. Good governance is embedded into compliance as well. There is no conflict of interest in compliance leading this effort, as there are multiple levels of oversight, monitoring, and verification. Of course, internal audit is there as well as external audit with their additional set of eyes.
ESG has exploded into compliance and business consciousness in 2021. Join Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, on the ESG Report and learn about sustainability risks, opportunities, and issues that business leaders and compliance professionals need to know about regarding ESG.
Today on the ESG Report, I want to continue my exploration of why I believe the compliance function is most well suited to lead the corporate ESG effort going forward. I want to do this in the context of the fifth step in an best practices ESG program, which is typically response and enhancement. This would seem very familiar to compliance professionals as continuous monitoring leading to continuous improvement, and you would not be very far off. This is even more important in ESG because of the dynamic nature of ESG. As the Harvard Business School professor George Serafeim stated in his HBR article entitled Social Impact Efforts That Create Real Value, it seems clear that companies will be undergoing pressure to improve their performance on ESG dimensions in the future. This pressure will continue as companies achieve one set of goals and then move towards the next set of goals. This is because, as we have seen in the compliance realm, an ESG program is not simply a check-the-box exercise, which Serafeim terms window dressing. By the way, that's a great phrase for the compliance professional to use when a senior executive says he wants the check-the-box exercise. However, it can include such activities as improving ESG disclosures, releasing a sustainability report, holding a sustainability-focused investor relations event. Just like compliance and properly seen, ESG must look to more fundamental drivers, particularly strategy, to achieve real results and be rewarded for them. The key to achieving real results is to move these initiatives forward through ESG program responses and enhancements. Once again, similar to compliance, most companies have been treating ESG efforts like a cell phone case, something added for protection, in this case, the protection of a company's reputation. Corporate leaders need to replace this mentality with an ambitious and differentiated ESG strategy if they want to see real financial dividends. As far back as 2012, Jennifer Hermes, writing in Environment Plus Energy Leader, in an article entitled Perspectives on Continuous Improvement in Corporate Sustainability, noted, "It starts with a mindset of continuous improvement. You can't manage what you don't measure. Developing defined, realistic benchmarks and strategies, whether to reduce carbon emissions, conserve water, reduce waste to landfills, or other eco-conscious pursuits, rallies the workforce and prevents agenda tinkering at the top. Organizations that take consistent steps over time to reach specific sustainability goals often experience long-term operational savings. When everyone is aware of common goals, it helps to achieve a deeper understanding of how the complete supply chain contributes to overall environmental sustainability performance. When you grow a business sustainably, you don't see a finish line. With every achievement, you learn new ways to continuously improve your environmental performance. Once again, even if business leaders see compliance as simply a reactive and legally based, every compliance professional knows that the only way to maintain an effective compliance program is through continuous improvement. That sounds suspiciously like what the Department of Justice said in the 2020 update to the evaluation of corporate compliance programs. In their article, The 7 Deadly Sins of ESG Management, the authors said companies should avoid a static approach that may focus on adhering to minimum regulatory requirements. This is because it can become a source of innovation and industry collaboration through continuous improvement. As I said in an earlier podcast, effective implementation of an ESG program requires monitoring through the use of key performance indicators, or KPIs. This systemic approach to ESG using a compliance perspective is one of the key reasons compliance is the most well-suited corporate function to lead an organization's ESG effort. Jim DeLoach, writing in Forbes.com in a piece entitled 12 Ways to Drive Better ESG Reporting, added additional reasons for continuous monitoring, all designed to improve your overall ESG program. If you focus solely on past performance and accomplishments, it will present a limited perspective and you may well hinder your overall ESG efforts. DeLoach recommends a balanced view that considers future goals and commitments aligned with strategy, which presents a fuller picture for investors. You should strive to align ESG reporting with the company's financial reporting calendar so that stakeholders can focus on both financial and ESG performance. Aligning these two may become more important to facilitate a complete and timely evaluation of the company's prospects by investors. This is because underlying ESG-related activities drive investments, generate returns, and create new sources of revenue, thereby reducing operating costs and enabling strategies. All of these also make clear that responses and enhancements of an ESG program are directly aligned to the compliance requirement of continuous improvement. As I stated in the 2020 update to the evaluation of corporate compliance programs released by the Department of Justice in June 2020, it stated, one hallmark of an effective compliance program is the capacity to improve and evolve. Substitute ESG for compliance in that sentence, and the connection becomes clear. What should you do with this information generated by your ESG program? Have a strategic plan in place ready to implement your findings of continuous improvement by using some of the following. Review the goals of your ESG strategic plan. This requires that you arrange a time to review the goals of the strategic plan and determine how this goal in the plan measures up to your ESG implementation in your company. 2, design an execution plan. The Keep It Simple, Sir, or KISS method is the best way to move forward. This would suggest that for each ESG goal, there should be a simple and straightforward plan to ensure the goal in question is being addressed. 3, put accountabilities in place. In any plan of execution, there must be accountabilities attached to them. This requires mandating a reporting requirement on how the task assigned is being achieved. And number 4, schedule the next review of the plan. This should be a regular review of the process, which allows problems which may arise to be detected and corrected more quickly than if meetings are held at a less frequent basis. I hope that you have seen over this short podcast series that I've taken a solo turn on how not only the corporate compliance function and CCO can lead the corporate ESG efforts, but more importantly, why a CCO and corporate compliance function is most well-suited in an organization to lead the corporate ESG effort. Quite simply, the process for design, creation, implementation, and running of an ESG program is virtually similar to that of a compliance program. The goals of ESG are very similar to the requirement of a CCO and compliance function to be champions of institutional justice and institutional fairness in an organization. Good governance is embedded into compliance as well. There is no conflict of interest in compliance leading this effort, as there are multiple levels of oversight, monitoring, and verification. Of course, internal audit is there as well as external audit with their additional set of eyes. I hope that you will take many of these concepts, if you're the compliance professional, and bring them forward into your ESG program. There are lots of different commentators who have talked about the need for compliance to lead the corporate ESG effort. Christy Grant Hart, Mike Volkov, Matt Kelly, and others. So there's lots of good information out there that I think you can access if you are not leading or at least a part of the senior team on your overall ESG effort. I really think that you need to get ahead of this rather than be behind the 8 ball.